Thunder rumbles over the roaring ocean waves. Torrential rain pours onto the steel containers. In the pitch-black night, floodlights slice through the heavy rain, revealing trails of blood flowing across the steel deck. Dozens of Luis's heavily armed cartel henchmen lie dead in brutal positions. Vlad Dracula, 35, stands amid the carnage. He is tall and imposing, wearing a drenched black trench coat soaked in rain and blood. His face is scarred, but his ash-gray eyes are dead cold. Vlad holds a bullet-riddled National Special Forces badge. His knuckles turn white as he squeezes it until blood drips from his palm. Vlad. Low, raspy whisper. 10 years ago, you made me an enemy of the state. 10 years later, I become your worst nightmare. Vlad flicks a Zippo lighter, setting the badge ablaze before dropping it into a pool of blood. Classical opera music plays softly, starkly contrasting the suffocating atmosphere. Inside a gilded living room, Luis, 55, slowly cuts a steak dripping in red wine sauce. He wears reading glasses, exuding the calm arrogance of an untouchable kingpin. Beside him sits Cassiopeia, 26, on the arm of a leather sofa. She wears a thigh-high slit crimson evening gown. Her hourglass figure is mesmerizing, but her eyes are cold like ice. She idly spins a sharp combat dagger. A henchman crawls into the room, chest covered in blood, gasping for air. Henchman. Boss. The Buenaventura port, destroyed. He has returned. Luis stops his fork. He raises his head calmly. Luis. Cold chuckle. Vlad Dracula? The Special Forces hound from 10 years ago isn't dead yet? Henchman. He said, you're next. Bang. Cassiopeia draws her silver silencer custom from her thigh holster and shoots the henchman directly through the forehead without blinking. He collapses onto the expensive carpet. Cassiopeia gently blows the smoke from her barrel, a dangerous, seductive smile appearing on her lips. Cassiopeia. Mesmerizing, dark voice. A former operative with a soul consumed by demons. Intriguing. Boss, let me handle him. I want to see what color Dracula's blood really is. Tension hangs thick in the room. High-ranking military officers stand rigidly at attention. At the center stands Egbert, 32. He is the epitome of absolute authority, muscular physique bulging under a tight dress shirt. Sharp jawline, and commanding eyes. Egbert slams his fist onto the oak table, cracking the wood. Egbert. Roaring like a lion. $3 billion of drug money washed through our national banks every year. The police force is rotten to the core. You fear Luis? I do not. Police General. Trembling. Chief Egbert. Luis has a private army. And Cassiopeia, his undefeated assassin. Egbert. Stepping closer. Eyes ruthless. I don't care who he has. If the law can't touch him, I will enforce my own law. The law of Egbert. Egbert stabs a combat knife directly into the map of Medellin. Egbert. Whispering to his aide. Send a coded message to Vlad. Tell him, his only ally in Colombia is ready. Inside a ruined bar, Vlad sits alone, using pliers to pull a bullet out of his shoulder. He doesn't flinch, teeth clenched on a bloodied bandage as sweat and blood pour down his chest. Crash. The iron door is kicked open. Cassiopeia steps in alongside 20 masked hitmen carrying heavy submachine guns. Her high heels click ominously on the concrete floor. Cassiopeia. Seductive smile. Operating on yourself, Dracula? Too bad your next wound will be in your heart. Vlad slowly sets down the bloody pliers. His ash-gray eyes lock onto hers. Vlad. Ice cold. You're too young to die for a man like Luis. Little girl. Cassiopeia. Raising her gun. Say goodbye, ghost. Fire. Gunfire explodes. Bullets tear the room apart. Vlad moves like a panther, vaulting over a wooden bar counter and firing twin Glocks with lethal precision. 3 hitmen drop dead instantly. Suddenly, an armored SWAT vehicle smashes straight through the brick wall. Boom. Egbert leaps out from the armored vehicle, firing an M4 shotgun, obliterating the cartel's formation. Egbert steps through the smoke, locking eyes with Vlad. 2 titans, one representing absolute power, the other representing dark vengeance, confront each other amid the chaos. Egbert, roaring over the gunfire. Vlad, if you want Luis's head, follow me. Cassiopeia rolls to dodge Egbert's ruthless shotgun blast. Her slid dress is torn, revealing a bleeding scratch on her thigh, but her eyes burn with wild excitement. She fires 3 rounds toward Egbert. Bang, bang, bang. Egbert raises his tactical forearm guard. The bullets strike the ceramic armor plate, showering sparks. Egbert, ruthless grin. Retreat, girl, I didn't come here tonight for small fish. Cassiopeia glares at Egbert, then glances at Vlad, who has just snapped the neck of the last gunman. Realizing she has lost the element of surprise, she throws a smoke grenade. Hiss, thick white smoke erupts. When it clears, she and her surviving men are gone. Silence returns, broken only by the heavy breathing of the 2 men and water dripping from the ceiling. Vlad stands among the corpses, his Glock aimed directly at Egbert's chest. Vlad. Dangerous tone. Why bring a SWAT team here? Egbert, to execute me or grant me a favor? Egbert lowers his weapon and removes his tactical helmet, stepping closer to Vlad without fear. Egbert. 10 years ago, the government discarded your unit as a disgrace. But I know the truth. Vlad, Luis paid $5 million to top officials to make your team the scapegoats. Vlad's knuckles whiten around his gun grip. Vlad. Raging. If you knew, why did you stay silent for 10 years? You were part of that rotten system. Egbert. Tearing off his military badge, throwing it into the blood. Because 10 years ago I was a pawn. Now, I run the board. Colombia's law enforcement is dead. I need a man outside the law. I need a ghost to do what politics cannot. Vlad looks at the blood-soaked badge, then meets Egbert's gaze. The bloody alliance between a dangerous rogue operative and a high official is forged. Under the blazing sun, Egbert steps out of an armored sedan in a tailor-made suit. Dozens of reporters rush forward with flashing cameras. Reporter. Chief Egbert, rumors say Luis threatened government officials. What is your response? Egbert stops, removes his sunglasses, and delivers a cold, authoritative smile. Egbert. Commanding voice. Tell Luis. The era where he bought Colombia with cash is over. From today, anyone who stands with him is an enemy of the state. Across the street, on a rooftop, Vlad watches through the scope of a Dragunov sniper rifle. His crosshairs lock onto a concealed cartel gunman in the crowd aiming at Egbert's chest. Whip, suppressed shot. The assassin drops dead instantly. Vlad detaches his scope, whispering into the wind. Vlad. The game has just begun. Egbert. Flames roar as thousands of drug crates burn. Vlad and Cassiopeia clash in a brutal hand-to-hand fight amidst the inferno. Cassiopeia strikes with a knife, slashing Vlad's cheek. Vlad dodges, grabs her wrist, and locks her voluptuous body against his chest, aiming his Glock at her temple while her silver silencer is pressed against his gut. Cassiopeia. Laughing wildly, eyes insane. Shoot, Dracula, shoot me. Luis will skin me alive for losing 5 tons of cargo anyway. Shoot. Vlad narrows his eyes, sensing the tremor in her wrist, not from fear of death, but from sheer desperation. Vlad. Whispering near her ear. Manipulative. I didn't come here to kill you. Cassiopeia, I came to set you free. Cassiopeia freezes. Vlad. The scars on your back were not earned on a battlefield. You served the monster who destroyed your life. You think you're his favorite? You're just a hound waiting for the slaughterhouse. Cassiopeia. Grit teeth, tears falling. Shut up. He holds my younger sister hostage. Inside a military bunker, Cassiopeia is chained to a steel table. Her red dress is torn, exposing her fair skin covered in scratches. Yet her mesmerizing allure remains untouched. Egbert enters, putting on a pristine suit jacket over his massive muscular frame. He sets down a plate of food and water. Egbert. Commanding, manipulative. Your sister in Paris, Mia, 18 years old, correct? Cassiopeia snaps her head up, chains rattling furiously. Cassiopeia. Roaring. Don't touch her. Egbert. I am not Luis. My special counterintelligence team reached your sister in France before Luis's men could. Mia is safe under my protection now." Cassiopeia collapses emotionally. Vlad walks into the room, standing shoulder to shoulder with Egbert. Vlad leans down, staring into Cassiopeia's eyes. "Vlad, give us the key to Luis's sanctuary. And I promise you, your hands will fire the bullet that ends his life." Inside a luxurious underground panic room, Luis smokes an expensive cigar while talking to General Otero, 58, a corrupt defense ministry official. General Otero. Panicking. "Luis, Egbert has seized my Swiss bank accounts. If this leaks, we'll both hang." Luis. Arrogant chuckle. "Tonight, my Red Beret strike team will eliminate Egbert in a gas leak accident. And Dracula? He's just a ghost. And ghosts can't rise twice." Boom. The reinforced wooden door is blown to pieces. Egbert enters first, firing his MP7, dropping 2 bodyguards instantly. He presses the smoking barrel directly against General Otero's forehead. Egbert. Voice like thunder. "General Otero, you are under arrest for high treason." Vlad steps through the rubble. Twin Glocks drawn, locking his ash-gray eyes onto Luis. Finally, Cassiopeia steps forward, her silver silencer leveled at Luis's head. Cassiopeia. Cold smile. "Your night of judgment has arrived." Luis. Luis backs away, sweating profusely. Luis. Desperate. Egbert, $2 billion in Zurich. I'll give you 50%. You can be the next president. Egbert. Cold, ruthless smile. "Your money bought the old regime. Luis, but it cannot buy my law." Egbert knocks General Otero unconscious with the butt of his gun and handcuffs him to a stone table. Vlad advances toward Luis like a predator. "Vlad. 10 years ago, my men begged you under the rain. You executed them one by one to cover up your shipment. Do you remember their faces? Luis?" Luis suddenly draws a concealed golden revolver and fires a desperate shot at Cassiopeia. Bang! The bullet grazes Cassiopeia's shoulder. Before Luis can fire again, Vlad lunges forward, grabbing Luis's wrist and snapping it 180 degrees. Crack! Luis screams in agony. Vlad drives a brutal knee into his stomach, pulling him up by his hair. Vlad. Whispering. Regards from the ice unit. Vlad steps back, looking at Cassiopeia. Vlad. Your turn. Cassiopeia steps forward. Luis cringes on the floor like a rat. Luis. Cassiopeia, please, I raised you. Cassiopeia. You are a monster, and monsters belong in hell. Bang, bang, bang. 3 silver rounds shatter Luis's chest and head. The legendary drug lord drops dead in a pool of blood. Sunrise breaks over the mountains. Egbert hands Vlad and Cassiopeia 2 clean diplomatic passports with brand new identities. Egbert. Tonight, Vlad Dracula and Cassiopeia died in an explosion. You are free now. Your flight to Switzerland leaves in 2 hours. Your sister is waiting. Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia smiles for the first time in 10 years. Looking at Vlad with deep, inspoken emotion, Vlad nods to Egbert, shaking his hand one last time. Vlad. If this country ever needs a ghost again, you know where to find me. Egbert. Vlad and Cassiopeia walk together into the golden sunrise toward a waiting helicopter. Leaving behind a fallen blood empire. Snow covers the ancient streets of Zurich. Cassiopeia, now named Elena, steps out of a luxury sedan. Her younger sister, Mia, runs out from a lakefront villa and embraces her in tears. Vlad, now named Victor, stands nearby in a dark trench coat. Sipping hot coffee, his eyes constantly scan the perimeter. Inside his apartment later that night, a red security alert flashes on Vlad's encrypted computer. Security alert. Unsanctioned IP accessing Elena's location data. Vlad draws his suppressed Glock and rushes outside into the snowstorm. Reaching Cassiopeia's villa, he spots 3 fresh footprints in the snow. Inside, a masked assassin sneaks up behind Mia with a syringe filled with yellow poison. Bang! Vlad shoots through the window, blasting the assassin's hand. Cassiopeia drops from the darkness above, wrapping a piano wire around the killer's neck and snapping it with a sharp crack. Vlad kicks the door open. He inspects the body, pulling back the collar to reveal a red crescent moon tattoo. Vlad. Not Colombia. This is Mexico's Crescent Cartel. The game never ended. Cassiopeia. It just went global. Don Hector, 50, the elegant yet ruthless kingpin of the Crescent Cartel, stands by an infinity pool. Don Hector. Drinking tequila. Notify our contact in Bogotá. Tell Chief Egbert that if he wants to keep his seat secure, he must deliver Vlad Dracula's head to me. Otherwise, a border war will destroy his intelligence agency. Scene 2. Ext. Private airfield outside Bogotá night. Stormy. A black military helicopter lands. Vlad and Cassiopeia step down into the pouring rain. Egbert steps forward, waiting in his rain-soaked military coat. He opens a steel suitcase revealing battle-grade tactical weapons and blueprints of Don Hector's fortress in Culiacán. Egbert. Mighty grin. Welcome back to hell, brother. Vlad racks the bolt of an HK-416 assault rifle with a sharp clack. Vlad. Ice cold. This time, we flatten Mexico. Boom. An RPG anti-tank missile fired from the hills obliterates the fortress guard tower. Egbert's armored land cruiser smashes through the massive iron gates. Egbert leaps out carrying a heavy M249 SAW machine gun, laying down relentless suppressing fire. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Egbert. Roaring like a desert lion. Come get my head, you Mexican dogs. Vlad and Cassiopeia slide out like twin phantoms. Vlad moves in a lethal zigzag, picking off gunmen with surgical headshots. Cassiopeia rolls across tables, firing dual suppressed pistols, dropping targets left and right. Don Hector desperately types the code to seal his heavy steel panic room door. Suddenly, a massive tactical gloved hand blocks the sliding steel door. Crack. With superhuman physical strength, Egbert forces the multi-ton steel door open with his bare hands. Hector draws his revolver, firing a shot into Egbert's chest armor. Egbert doesn't even flinch. He grabs Hector's arm, twisting it until his shoulder pops out of its socket. Crack. Vlad and Cassiopeia step inside. Vlad closes the steel door, locking out the chaotic gunfight outside. Vlad steps up to Don Hector, who is kneeling on the floor in agony. Vlad. You put a $100 million bounty on our heads. Now, Don Hector, who pays for yours? Vlad grabs Hector by his hair, pulling his face up. Vlad. Who in the Colombian Defense Ministry leaked our coordinates in Switzerland to you? Speak. Don Hector. Gasping. It was Deputy Secretary of Security, Valdez. He wanted to overthrow Egbert. He took 20 million from me. Egbert's eyes narrow in fury. The ultimate traitor inside his own department is exposed. Egbert. Ruthless smile. Thank you for the information, Don Hector. Bang. Vlad puts a single bullet through Don Hector's forehead without hesitation. The Crescent Cartel's head is severed. Deputy Secretary Valdez, 52, steps off a private jet with 20 heavily armed bodyguards, preparing to announce Egbert's disappearance. Suddenly, Egbert's armored fleet surrounds the tarmac with sirens blaring. Egbert steps out, imposing and majestic in his official coat. Valdez drops his phone in sheer terror. Deputy Secretary Valdez. Stammering. Egbert, how did you survive Culiacán? Egbert. Don Hector sends his regards from hell. Valdez. Valdez screams at his guards to shoot, but nobody moves. Red laser sniper dots from Vlad Dracula's rifle cover the hearts and foreheads of every single bodyguard from the surrounding hangar rooftops. Cassiopeia sweeps Valdez off his feet with a swift kick, pinning him to the tarmac and slapping tightened handcuffs onto his wrists. Cassiopeia. Whispering. Your political game is over, Mr. Secretary. Egbert looks down at the traitor with total disdain, speaking to the arriving tactical officers. Egbert. Voice echoing across the airfield. Take him to the maximum security prison. Announce to the press, from today, anyone who conspires with criminals minister or general, will end up like this. A crimson sunset bathes the city of Bogotá in a red glow. Egbert, Vlad, and Cassiopeia stand together at the edge of the cliff. Egbert, raising a glass. Luis's cartel is destroyed. The Crescent Cartel has collapsed. Valdez is behind bars. Colombia finally has peace, even if temporary. Vlad. Darkness never disappears. Egbert. It only waits in the shadows. Cassiopeia. Smiling, holding Vlad's arm. But this time, we have a real life worth protecting. Egbert hands Vlad a data chip containing $100 million in clean, legal assets. Egbert. Farewell, Dracula. Farewell, Cassiopeia. Live the life you fought to win. Vlad nods. He and Cassiopeia walk down the mountain path into the golden sunset together. Egbert stands alone on the peak, looking over the city below. Egbert. Whispering. My law has just begun. Thunder rumbles in the distance over the valley. The hum of cooling fans from dozens of banking servers echoes through the room. Despite Deputy Secretary Valdez's arrest, his lingering ties within the Viper Council, a secret alliance of corrupt politicians and high-ranking generals, begin their counterattack. Egbert stands alone in his dark office, the blue glow of his computer screen illuminating his resolute yet exhausted face. His assistant rushes in without knocking. Assistant. Chief Egbert, the National Security Council just passed a secret resolution. They accuse you of abuse of power, deploying rogue forces, and issuing a global warrant for Victor, Vlad Dracula. Your dismissal order will be signed tomorrow morning. Egbert remains unflinched. He takes a sip of whiskey, his sharp eyes gazing out over the glittering cityscape of Bogotá below. Egbert. Low, commanding voice. The roaches reveal themselves when their nest is threatened. Do they truly believe removing me settles it? Beep, beep. The satellite phone on his desk vibrates. The low, gravelly voice of Vlad Dracula comes through the line. Vlad, versus O. Over phone. I hear you're about to be dethroned. Egbert. Egbert. Cold smile. They want to force me onto the defensive, but I need someone to strike from the outside. Vlad, it's time you reclaim the honor of the ICE unit. Chairman Silva, 60, head of the Viper Council, sits in his luxurious study. Swirling an expensive glass of red wine, he wiggles his feet arrogantly, waiting for news of Egbert's complete downfall. Surrounding his estate are 50 heavily armored private mercenaries. Suddenly, the entire mansion's power grid cuts out. Pitch darkness consumes the room. Clack. Panicked shouts from guards echo down the hallway, followed by the sickening crunch of breaking bones, crack, crack, and heavy bodies collapsing. The study door glides open smoothly. A tall figure steps out of the shadows. Vlad Dracula wears a black trench coat, holding a suppressed pistol. A cold chill runs down Silva's spine. Trembling, he draws a gun from his desk drawer. But Vlad moves like a predator, disarming him in a flash and driving a combat dagger straight through Silva's hand, pinning it to the wooden desk. Chairman Silva, screaming in agony. Ah, you're Dracula the ghost? Vlad, whispering into Silva's ear, ash-gray eyes burning with rage. 10 years ago, you signed the order destroying the ICE unit's rescue files for $10 million from Luis. Tonight, you go on national television to read your own confession. Heavy footsteps of thousands of protesters gathering at the gates. Sirens of Special Forces vehicles blare continuously. Today is the live national press conference held by the Security Council to announce Egbert's removal and Dracula's global arrest warrant. Hundreds of reporters and international news crews pack the Grand Hall. On the podium, corrupt officials wear righteous masks, reading a fabricated indictment. Suddenly, the massive LED screen behind the podium is hijacked. Static. Beast. The image of Chairman Silva in handcuffs. Bruised, reading aloud every page of documents detailing Swiss bank accounts, names, and treasonous transactions of the entire Viper Council, appears before the stunned eyes of the nation. The crowd of reporters explodes into chaos. Camera flashes ignite continuously. The heavy main doors are kicked wide open. Egbert marches in. He wears a pristine counterintelligence general's dress uniform, chest covered in medals. His massive, imposing physique strikes awe into the security personnel lined up along the hall. Not a single guard dares to step in his way. Flanking him is Cassiopeia. She wears a powerful white tailored suit, holding a binder of original evidence verified by the International Court. High above on the second-floor balcony, Vlad Dracula stands silently in the shadows, sniper rifle leveled, guarding his two brothers in arms below. Egbert steps onto the podium, shoving the trembling official aside. His voice booms like thunder. Egbert. Commanding voice, echoing across the nation on live broadcast. Citizens of Colombia, deceit has ruled this country for far too long. The very men who claim to protect the law are the ones who sold the blood of our soldiers to drug cartels. Today, their true faces are laid bare. Egbert raises the documents high into the air. Egbert. And today, I stand here to exonerate the true hero whom this rotten system turned into a ghost, Lieutenant Colonel Vlad Dracula. The Colombian national anthem plays triumphantly. Tens of thousands of citizens cheer under a sea of flags. Under a bright blue sky and morning sun, Patriot Square is flooded with people. On the official stage, the President of Colombia and newly reformed congressional members stand at attention. Vlad Dracula ascends the stone steps. No longer wearing the dark, somber trench coat of the underworld, he wears the deep blue National Police Special Forces honor uniform, his service medals restored to his chest. His scarred face now radiates pride and peace. Egbert stands as Supreme Commander, a proud smile on his face. The President steps forward, personally pinning the Medal of the Fatherland, the nation's highest honor, onto Vlad's chest. President. Speaking into the microphone. On behalf of the people and government of Colombia, we apologize to Lieutenant Colonel Vlad Dracula for 10 years of injustice. And we thank you for saving the soul of this nation from darkness. Tens of thousands of voices chant his name in unison. Dracula. 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 Vlad looks up at the sky, tears welling in his eyes. 10 years of agony, of licking his wounds in dark alleys, finally redeemed with absolute honor. The clock ticks quietly, tick, tock. 5 years have passed. Colombia has transformed entirely. The drug networks have been eradicated. The economy thrives. And politics is transparent under Egbert's steadfast leadership. Inside his vast office, Egbert stands by the glass window. Strands of silver now touch his temples. His physique remains powerful. But his demeanor carries the wisdom and dignity of a chief national advisor. Vlad steps inside. He is now Colonel, Deputy Director of Counterintelligence. His quiet intensity, lethal when necessary but always fair, commands deep respect across the military. Egbert turns around, unclasping the solid gold Supreme Chief badge and laying it on the desk. Egbert. Warm, proud voice. I have kept my promise to this country. Vlad, next week, I step up to the role of National Political Advisor. And this seat needs a successor who possesses both the light of the law and the darkness of the battlefield. Vlad looks at the badge, then at the brother who walked through rivers of blood by his side. Vlad. Firmly. I used to be a ghost. Egbert, are you certain the people will accept me? Egbert steps forward, placing his heavy hand on Vlad's shoulder, gripping it tight. Egbert. Smiling. You are no ghost anymore. Vlad, you are their shield. I entrust Colombia to you. A brilliant golden sunset bathes the peaceful city of Bogotá. No gunfire, no fear. Vlad stands on the highest balcony of the counterintelligence tower, wearing the commanding suit of the Supreme Director. Cassiopeia steps out from behind him. She wears an elegant dress, her face radiant with happiness. She wraps her arms around Vlad's waist, resting her head against his broad shoulder. Cassiopeia. Whispering. You did it, Victor. You brought peace to us all. Vlad holds her gentle hand, pressing a soft kiss upon it. He turns back to look out over the glowing city skyline. In the distance on the hill, Egbert stands with new leaders, waving toward the tower. A new era has dawned, free from the manipulation of drugs and corrupt politics. Vlad Dracula, from a disgraced operative and a shadow mafia figure, has become Egbert's greatest successor. Standing guard over the peace of an entire nation, cold wind howls through window crevices. The slow, weak beep, beep of a heart monitor echoes in the room. Time is the only enemy that no legend can defeat. Inside a sunlit winter bedroom, Cassiopeia lies in a hospital bed. Her mesmerizing allure of the past has faded with time. Her skin is wrinkled and her hair snow white, yet her eyes remain filled with deep love for the man holding her hand. Vlad Dracula, now an old man with silver hair, his face etched with deep wrinkles and countless battle scars, kneels by her bedside. The hands that once brought terror to the underworld now tremble as he holds his soulmate's frail fingers. Cassiopeia, gasping softly, breath fading. "Victor, I must go first. I have lived a full life because of you." Vlad, cloudy tears streaming down his old scars. "Don't, Cassiopeia, please, don't leave me alone in the dark." Cassiopeia smiles faintly, her trembling fingers gently caressing Vlad's cheek one last time before her eyes close forever. The heart monitor flatlines into a continuous tone, beep. Vlad buries his head into her chest, letting out a silent, agonizing scream. The only woman who warmed his dark life has left this world forever. Slow, heavy cane thuds, thud, thud, echo down the quiet hallway. Following Cassiopeia's passing, Egbert retired from politics due to old age and illness. The once muscular, towering general now sits in a wheelchair. Although the nation enjoys peace, political infighting driven by a new generation of corrupt politicians, who looked down on Egbert and Vlad's bloody legacy and systematically revoked their counterintelligence laws, accumulated into deep bitterness within Egbert's heart. Vlad enters the room. The two old men, two old lions of the battlefield from decades past, look at each other. Egbert, hoarse voice, dripping with resentment. Vlad, the youth in parliament, they just passed a blanket pardon for the cartel remnants. They claim our era was too brutal. They are erasing every drop of blood we spilled. Egbert chokes with rage, his chest heaving violently. His veiny hand grips his belt so tightly his knuckles bleed. Vlad, stepping closer, voice heavy with pain. Egbert, let it go. You did everything you could for this country. Egbert, eyes wide, heart pounding frantically. No, they're tearing Colombia apart. I won't accept this. I cannot. Crack. A catastrophic cardiac arrest explodes inside Egbert's chest. The overwhelming resentment shatters the old general's heart on the spot. Egbert coughs up a mouthful of blood, his wide eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. His hand grips Vlad's tightly before going completely limp. Vlad, in utter psychological shock, screaming in rage and despair. Egbert, no, Egbert, open your eyes, that's an order. The ultimate psychological blow of losing his last brother, the man who carried the destiny of the nation alongside him, shatters Vlad's mind. He collapses beside Egbert's body, his aging frame trembling violently in the greatest grief of his life. Heavy rain pours relentlessly onto black granite tombstones. A somber funeral march plays softly in the background. General Egbert's state funeral takes place under a pouring storm, reminiscent of the rain 10 years prior when their war first began. Thousands of citizens line the streets in the rain. Young government officials in expensive suits stand under umbrellas, offering hypocritical condolences. Vlad Dracula stands alone before two side-by-side tombstones, Cassiopeia and Egbert. He wears no official uniform, only his tattered, old black trench coat from decades past. His frail body stands firm in the downpour, but his ash-gray eyes have lost their final spark of life. Old age, the loss of the two most important people in his life, and the collapse of his lifelong ideals have drained his last remaining strength. A sharp chest pain surges. Vlad coughs up blood and falls to his knees before the two graves. A young official steps forward, holding an umbrella over him with a condescending smile. Young official. Arrogant tone. Mr. Dracula, your era and General Egbert's era are over. Today is the age of diplomacy and peace. You should rest now. Vlad slowly raises his head. Though on the verge of his final breath, his ash-gray gaze makes the young official flinch and take a step back in fear. "Vlad." Faint whisper, like wind over graves. "Your peace was built on the bones of those resting beneath us. When the darkness returns, who will fight for you?" Vlad smiles, a serene, peaceful smile. His trembling hand reaches out, resting on the cold granite bearing Cassiopeia and Egbert's names. His heart stops. Vlad Dracula collapses between the two graves, drawing his final breath under the storm of Bogotá. The reign of Vlad Dracula and Egbert, two living legends of blood, light, and justice, officially comes to an end. The lively hum of modern city traffic, children laughing in a nearby park. Years pass. Bogotá has transformed into a thriving, modern metropolis. At the center of Patriot Square, a colossal bronze statue depicting General Egbert and Colonel Vlad Dracula standing back to back still stands tall, guarding the city. In a dark alley near the square, a new generation of drug dealers conducts a covert transaction, arrogantly believing the brutal laws of the past are long gone. Suddenly, a young figure steps out from the shadows of the alley. The young man wears a black trench coat, his eyes cold as ice. In his hand, he holds a bullet-hole Special Forces badge, Vlad's original badge, and Cassiopeia's silver ring. He steps out of the darkness, raising a suppressed pistol. Fwip, fwip. The criminals collapse silently onto the pavement. The young man looks up at the bronze statues of Egbert and Vlad Dracula under the bright sunlight, softly whispering, "The shadow successor." Steely voice, "Your law will never die." Sunlight hits the bronze monument, illuminating an inscription deeply carved into its stone base. "As long as there are those willing to step into the darkness to protect the light, justice will never perish."